hangouts don't go as you think they will. Oh, goodness. Okay, so this Hangout on Air is live. Hello, everybody. My name is Debbie Horovich. I'm so glad you could join us today. I'm sure at least one of our viewers here today is Frank. So, hi, Frank. Thanks for joining us. And we have on the panel, aside from myself, I'm joined by Phil Turner and Diane Bradley. And David Grossman, and we were hoping to have, but we're missing, Coach Jim Johnson. And unfortunately, we've just been for the last 30 or 40 minutes trying to get him onto the Hangout, but he's having technical problems. For the most part, I admit it's completely my fault. I didn't properly prepare him ahead of time. Normally when I do Hangout on Air interviews, I make sure that everyone who's going to be on the panel and especially my guest. Oh, wait, here's Jim Johnson. I was just about to announce that we're going to reschedule the chat, and he made it on.
Well, there was some app or something I had to install, and I just hit a button and it installed.
That's how it goes. Okay, so I had just started the broadcast, so let me go back, rewind just a little bit for our audience and our viewer, and maybe Frank will come back and watch us again. I think one of our viewers who really wanted to talk to you, Jim, I think he left. But hopefully he'll come back again. So my name is Debbie Horovich, and from Social Sparkle and Shine. You're here today to join us and to watch the Hangout SparkleSOS Book Authors and Publishers, which is a peer hangout. We get together on a frequent basis with usually a best-selling and well-known book author who's quite experienced, so that we as aspiring book authors and as working book authors and experienced book authors, so that we can all mastermind together and come further in our careers and in our mindset and even in our confidence about authoring and publishing a book. Whether that be your choice to go with traditional publishing or self-publishing, we have lots of great conversations here. And if you haven't joined the community yet, you can do so at thesparkleagency.com/SparkleSOS opt-in. And you'll find all of the places to join the community for free, and you can go back and see the whole library of previous videos. So today I am super excited to get us started. We might go probably, I'd say maybe we'll go a half hour longer than planned, or not a half hour longer, but a half hour later than planned, if everyone's okay with that. If you have to jump off, that's okay. And what we're here to do today is to talk to our special guest, Jim Johnson, who's the author of a book called A Coach and a Miracle. And Jim, if you could just start by introducing yourself to our viewing audience and let us know, a little bit about your experience. How did it come about that you had this opportunity in life even to publish a book and to become a very well-known North American speaker?
Well, I've been a high school teacher and high school boys basketball coach for over 30 years. And back in 2006, I had a young man, his name was Jace McElwain, that the world now knows as J-Mac, was my team manager, and he also has autism and he's learning disabled. But he had a big dream. His dream was that he would like to try to make our basketball team and play in a varsity basketball game. And back in 2006, he was actually our team manager for 3 straight years. He did not make the team, although he tried out 3 years. But his senior year, when he didn't make the team because he had been so loyal and committed as our team manager, I told him I was going to give him a gift. And the gift was for our senior night, our final home game, I was going to put him in uniform. Instead of wearing his white shirt and black tie, he was going to be donning number 52. And that's what we did. And with about 4 minutes to go in the game, I gave J-Mac his first opportunity to play, and he got it in. His first two shots, he missed by quite a bit. In fact, the first one was an air ball. He missed by about 6 feet. But then the planets seemed to align, and God was looking over us because J-Mac turned into his boyhood idol of Kobe Bryant, and he made a three, and then he started making shot after shot, and when the smoke had cleared, he had actually finished the game as our leading scorer in only 4 minutes, and actually scored 20 points with your math. That could come out to 160 if he played the entire game. So it was certainly a very, very special moment. Because I've coached for so long and people were so touched by the story that people started to ask me, are you going to write a book about it? Because I started to be thrust in the speaking world, and I started to think when I became a speaker of, I had a really nice story I loved to share with people, but I wanted to also leave an everlasting message. So I decided to, with all the thoughts that I had as a teacher and coach in my own personal development, to put together 6 keys to help people make their dreams come true. And that was the second half of my keynote. And then people started asking me, are you going to write a book about it? And the more I thought about it, I said, you know what, it would be a great story to share with people. But I also want to make it an everlasting book. So what I did is I talked about the 6 principles, and then we added a few more chapters. I actually had a co-author. It was a gentleman that was actually a high school classmate of mine that was a newspaper writer. And he had 2 sons on the autism spectrum, so the story touched him deeply. And it was quite an endeavor to get the book done, but we're very, very proud of how it came out. And that's kind of the abridged version of the story.
Good. Well, thank you. I have to say, I get emotional even just hearing you talk about the story. I'm a very emotional and tend to be empathetic and sometimes a little bit too sympathetic person, but it's such a special story, and I think from a book author perspective, certainly there's a lot of questions that come to mind for me. I'm an aspiring book author, and for the other people that are joining us on the panel today, I think that we'll also have some questions. I'm hoping that actually, since you joined us just a couple of minutes after we started the broadcast, Jim, I'm hoping that I can have our other guests, Phil and David and Diane, also introduce themselves not only to the viewing audience but also to you, so that we can jump off the conversation and you know who you're talking to.
Sounds like a plan.
We're all either aspiring or working book authors, and what we want to talk about here today is that experience of, you had a really amazing experience happen in life, and it did, as you said, thrust you into speaking. It thrust you into some awareness and some knowledge. So, we'll get into that discussion. Phil, can you please introduce yourself to the viewing audience and to Jim? Let them know where you are in the world and where you are in your authoring journey.
Okay. I'm Phil Turner. I live in Ireland, in Cork on the south coast, out in the wilds in the middle of nowhere. I used to teach in England for 28 years, which was about 8 years too long. I should have given up that much earlier. I used to teach chemistry. I used to love it, but all the paperwork that comes with teaching is just unbelievable. And the hours where you can actually be spending every hour that there is in the day doing work that allocated by the school. Anyway, I've got out. Before I did, I actually wrote a book, which was the New Teacher's Survival Guide, which was I sold it for £70, which at the time was about $120, with photocopy rights to schools. I sold about 100 of them,
Nice.
so it was worthwhile. I printed it myself on my laser printer, which at the time, this was 15 years ago now. At the time, laser printers were the bee's knees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Since then, I published another book on Kindle. Kindle wasn't around the first time. Called Exam Grade Booster, but it hasn't sold very many.
Okay.
Basically putting together everything I learned from 28 years of teaching in terms of getting kids better exam results than they would have got otherwise.
Okay. Any future books?
Oh, too many too many all going round.
Okay, well then I'll move on, and we'll introduce Diane. Hello.
Hi.
So tell us, like I said, where you are in the world and where you are in your authoring journey.
I'm in Long Beach, California, USA. I'm in Southern California, where the weather's crazy, and some of the people are too. So it keeps it interesting. I recently launched a social media management company, and I haven't authored a book yet, but I'm in the process of writing my first ebook. It's scary in a good way.
Yeah.
And I'm having so much fun, and more ideas for books are coming. So at some point I'll have a regular book, but right now I'm just playing around with ideas for ebooks. I've hired a graphic designer to help me. She's someone whose designs I absolutely love. I want my ebooks to be visually interesting and not just informative, and so I need someone who can take my visions and make them real, and I know that she can do that. So the journey's just beginning for me, and it's exciting. I'm completely excited. So I need that energy. I need to be around more people who write and listen to their stories and just maintain that pool of inspiration. I have several friends who are authors, published authors, and I buy their books, I read their books, I love their books, and I always loved writing. I'm good at stories, but I'm not grammar. So,
you don't even have to be good at writing to be a book author anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm good at stories, but I'm not good at grammar. So I like to I'm writing training books, but I'm kind of writing them from a story perspective. They're easier to follow. I think I want to write something that will and make something that may have seemed a bit scary a lot easier because it's presented in a tongue. As I've talked to a few people about the ideas, people that I trust, and they're completely excited about them. So I'm on my way.
That's very exciting, and I'm so glad that you're here today joining us, because there will be a lot of value for you in these conversations, in being able to pick the brains of other authors. It's something that when I started the show, my story was that I was really, really insecure about the prospect in the universe about me being able to raise my voice and to really share my story and to even have an important story to tell. I didn't know what I was going to write a book about, and I told my family about it, and they said, don't do it. It will not make you happy writing a book or publishing a book. And it really crushed me to hear that, to not be supported in that way. And what I had to do was I started this hangout almost by accident, but it's really, for 18 months now, I've been hanging out with successful book authors, and it's changed the way that I think. I've published 3 ebooks myself. I've started publishing ebooks and digital books and real books for other authors and working with them. And my own book has completely taken shape through this experience, because now I know that what I'm writing about is celebrity hangouts on air. That is my first book that I already have outlined. I outlined it last summer, and I did the entire, all of the details of the book in my course, which Phil is on the inside of my Celebrity Hangouts on Air course. And it's just brought me to that point where now I've got a handful of traditionally published book authors, all who have said the minute that your book proposal is ready to go, Debbie, I'll introduce you to my publisher.
Wow.
And the amount of confidence, I mean, I didn't even know about self-publishing when I first started the show. I didn't know that. I mean, I knew, I don't know, my brain has come so far, so I'm so glad that you're here.
Yeah, definitely, it can be a paradigm shift for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi, David. I'm so glad that you can join us. Please go through your introduction, where you are and where you are in your authoring journey.
Okay, so where I'm physically in the world, I think, is where I'm in Toronto, not that far from you, Debbie.
Right.
And in terms of my book authoring career, I'm not really. I mean, I do like to write occasionally. I a video production company, so I write scripts, and I used to do a lot of blogging as well. But I have thought about writing a book, but I don't feel I'm ready to write a book yet because I have no idea what happened middle and in the end. So, but I mean, my main objective in joining this call today was because I know you're an innovator with respect to these Google Hangouts, seeing um, uh, notice of them for a while, and I thought I better get up with this technology, especially running a video production company and not using Google Hangouts. So that was my main motivation for joining the call. So nice to meet everybody.
So I'll title you the way that you snuck into this hangout as an aspiring book author. Let's call you an aspiring book author with reservations.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so then let's get into the conversation. I know we've got Jim here, and I think just from the introductions, I know the way that I deal on Hangouts, I like to take lots of notes about the people who are joining me, and I can see Jim is taking some notes, and probably a few wheels are turning. So, Jim, at the outset, is there anything that jumps out to you about you're from a very different place than we are as a book author, in that you have this great well of experience. From an initial standpoint, is there any immediate feedback that you would have for anyone on the panel or all of us?
Well, sure. I think the first thing is writing a book. For me personally, was a great accomplishment, but I will say that you got to be extremely passionate to stay with it, because it has a tremendous amount of challenges. For me personally, because of the fact that I wanted to share a message with the world through a book, that we overcame a lot of obstacles. So I think that's the first thing, is you got to understand that a book can be extremely rewarding. But it does come with a lot of challenges, and so you got to be ready for that.
Yeah, and with your book, now for everyone in the audience, I think Jim has sent me a copy of your book, but I haven't received it yet. So you were traditionally published with your book, is that correct?
Actually, we were not completely. We did go through the process of we did obtain a literary agent out of California, and thought that was what our method was going to be, is we were going to be traditionally published. To give you a very quick abridged version, unfortunately, it didn't work out like we initially planned. We actually were going to go to self-publishing, and I had a serendipitous event happen in my life. I'm a Catholic, and I go to church pretty regular, and about a couple of years ago, I was in Mass on Easter Sunday, and our pastor was handing out a book called Rediscovering Our Catholicism by a gentleman named Matthew Kelly. Did not know anything about Matthew, but I like to read, so I picked up his book. I read it. I actually ended up following up with him and sending him a donation, and it actually led to meeting Matthew. And Matthew is a very experienced author and also had his own publishing company. He was so thrilled with our book when we sent him the manuscript that he actually published the book for us. So we're kind of in between. We're not a big publishing company, but we did not self-publish as well. So we're kind of in between there.
So that would be like author services.
Yes. Yep.
Right. And I hear that story so many times and from so many authors that it's the traditional publishing route has really changed. In that they're publishing way fewer volumes, way fewer titles on an annual basis. They're really not taking the same risks that they used to. And in order for you as an unknown to be picked up by a traditional publishing company, what they want to see is proof of your platform, proof of your concept, so that their investment won't be a risk. And the best way to develop that proof is to self-publish. And then most often, if you can have success with a really high-quality, artisanal, published, self-published or author services published book, that gives proof to the publishing companies, and then they can come in and, with confidence, negotiate with you, make you an offer that they're sure will be a good investment for them, and they can republish your exact same book in their own style for their audiences.
Yeah, you're right on with that, Debbie. That that's, if you're unknown now, that's what you most likely have to do. I will just add one thing, is that I think it's hugely important that you have to develop a list of followers that are potential purchasers of your book, and I think that's really important. That something that we were not as aware of is that I'm very aware of right now. So I think that's something that you want to continually to build your list and really almost have a launch, get ready for when your book does come out.
So tell us then, when did you publish, and what sort of activities did you do around the launch to sell copies of the book? How did the launch go?
Our launch went, I'd say, it went pretty good locally. Because the story was a global story, I thought it would go better nationally, but we didn't do enough diligence. If I was to do it again, I would have really made sure that my launch process was longer, so that I reached out to more people, especially outside of our area. We did have an initial book launch where we actually had a book signing at our school. I did do a few different book signings at like Barnes and Noble and some of the local bookstores around in our area, which some went pretty well, some didn't go so well. But I think the thing that was a little bit different is because I had this story that became a global story. I had that. What I really didn't realize, that I realize very much right now, that I should have been really developing my list and being ready to be more organized to make it more of a national launch as opposed to a local launch. I think that's the biggest thing that I would change, and I would highly recommend to the group here and anybody listening, is that you really got to be prepared with a list that you can reach out to that will support your book endeavor.
By making a purchase.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's a lot of different ways that you can incentivize. It might be, you might give away something free. It could be a free PDF. It could, in my case, I gave away a free bookmark with my 6 essential keys on it. There are a lot of different ways that you can make it a little bit more enticing. You can also, if you buy now, you get a discount. So there's a lot of different methods you can do. Again, bulk sales, you can get involved with that as well. But I know I'm going to be a little bit redundant on this, but the huge thing is because the book itself is just challenging enough to get it completed and get it like where you want it, is that I think a lot of authors, including ourselves, we neglected the marketing piece, and that is something that as you write your book, you better really be organized, and making that like a pre-launch that's going to take some time, so get people excited about when the book actually comes out. I think is essential if you're going to have a book that's going to sell well.
Right. And that contributes a lot of the launch activity, a lot of the volume sales right at the initial release. That is the impact of developing momentum and things like that on Amazon, right? That's why you look for a big launch and not just a trickle of sales.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's really important is that you get as many people supporting from a testimonial standpoint about your book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So in your book, Jim, do you have did you have someone write the foreword for you, and do you have testimonials on your book cover?
I do. I had someone write the foreword. It was actually a pretty well-known basketball coach at the college level. His name was Billy Donovan, which is the University of Florida head coach, and he had won 2 national championships. And we got a chance to meet him, and he was gracious enough to write the foreword. I do have a number of testimonials, some by mostly famous sports figures, such as Dick Vitale, Jim Nance from CBS Sports, Temple Grandin, that is big an autistic person herself.
Yeah, I saw that.
Very big, and Jeff Ingundy would be another one, and that former NBA coach that's now an NBA commentator. So we did have some pretty good recognition from people that are well known in the world. But the other thing is once you start to get the books out, is to try to get people to support you by writing reviews on Amazon, and just trying to continually spread your message, that this is a book that's worth purchasing.
Right. And a lot of that is doing publicity and interviews like this today. And I presume that you're continuing with your speaking engagements.
I am. In fact, that's one of the things that I do with my book is often that's part of the package, whether I'm going to sell them in the back of the room, or that, sometimes I've had where I've, had a book for everybody in the audience. So that's another way that you can use your book. From the speaking world, I'd say 2 things that jump out to me with the book is, one is it adds more credibility to you. I think being a published author is a really nice thing to have as a speaker. And I think the second thing is, I heard this a lot. I belong to the National Speakers Association now. Mm-hmm. In fact, I was going to say to Diane, I was just in San Diego at this speakers conference not too long ago. But the other thing that I heard over and over again, and I will say that's very true, is a published book is like a big business card. It's an opportunity where you can send it to people. You can send it as a gift. You can. It's a way as an intro to meeting someone. It's something that you could actually do as a follow-up gift as well. A lot of different ways that you can use your book as a real positive resource.
Yeah. Diane, do you want to jump in?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I saw you come back in the video. Anyone who's on the panel, you can jump in.
Yeah, no, I haven't gone anywhere. I've just been glued to my chair, just taking all of this in. It's just, the whole story is so amazing. I'm bursting with enthusiasm right now. It's incredible. One thing that I didn't do when I came up with the idea for my books was to share that information with people who allow themselves to dream, because they can't be supportive of mine. So I am very fortunate that I have a lot of friends who are already on this path, and I can say, "Hey, I'm right behind you," and they'll say, "Yeah, come on, Dash, what do you need? What do you need to know? What kind of software do you need? And I get all these resources from them, and kind of that leg up support, and it's wonderful. So I just, whenever I want to do something, I tend to focus on the person who has the recipe for success for that already in my circle of friends, and then I like to say I like to add my own ingredients.
Well, and I agree with that entirely, because you can see the way that I do that as well is I decide what it is that I
Yeah.
want to do or learn. I find the people who are
Yes.
doing it really well, and I get them on a hangout.
Yeah. Exactly.
And usually they say,
Exactly.
"What's a hangout?" And I say, "It's YouTube live streaming," and that's it. Then they're on a hangout. And I've broken, I've introduced many people to Google Plus Hangouts on Air, many people who've been on many other platforms, including television, and published their own books, and on radio, and spoke on national stages and international stages. I'm the one who introduces them to a whole new media channel, Google Plus
Yeah.
Hangouts on Air. So it's fun to be in that position. One of the things that strikes me, Jim, is and Phil, let me know if you wanted to jump in. One of the things that strikes me is your book seems to have a number of different places where you could market it and really change the way that groups of people are thinking. And of course, within the autism spectrum, I'm wondering if you've seen a change in the type of organizations that are hiring you to speak as a result of your book coming out.
You know what? It's a great question, and I would say that it's been interesting because I actually have hooked up with a local autism organization in Rochester. So, and I'm going to do. I just retired from teaching to speak full time, but I'm going to get more involved with this. It's called Autism Up, which is an organization that was started in Rochester, where I live. But I haven't. It's been interesting. I certainly have spoke to some groups associated with autism, but I really thought I would speak to more. The interesting part, to answer your question, because my book was set up as a life lessons, is I'm actually since my book has come out, I've probably spoke to more businesses than I used to, and because I did a lot early in my speaking career, where I spoke to a lot of educational groups, whether it be schools or school conferences or educational conferences, and I still do a lot of that. But then I think having to begin to different types of businesses, which I've done more and more of. I still do some with organizations with special needs, whether it's autism or other. And because my story is inspirational, I've really run the gamut. I would say that I don't have a real total niche market in speaking, because it's such an inspirational story, and I talk to people about 6 keys and helping them make their dreams come true. So it really works out well with all types of audiences, which is a good thing. So to answer your question, I think the one thing that it has changed that I didn't expect is I am speaking to more business type organizations.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't surprise me. I can see how when you're in it, it could have been a little bit of a surprise, but I think that there's a really big appetite for those sorts of stories. And Diane, I think you touched on it in your introduction, which is you're telling your story, your business teaching in your books through storytelling. And one of the things that I've been learning about is that how impactful that really is for your readers, for people to first connect to you and even accept anything that you're saying, is if they connect to you on an emotional level, if they connect to you on a human level through stories, where we see that we're the same, that we have some of the same struggles, and then when you come up with the logic and the facts and here's all the figures and the reasons why, then they're already emotionally and mentally open to accepting your message. Phil, did you want to jump in?
I was just typing that I had to go now. The marketing thing with the book is the biggest pain to my mind. It's something which I slipped up with both of my own publishing efforts. The first one, I was still teaching. I basically published it, printed it in my office. I bought a list of names of teacher trainers in schools in England and Wales, and mailed them a flyer. This was, the internet was around, but it was still in its infancy. This was, when was it now? About 95, early 90s. You know, so things have moved on. And then the ebook I've got, I don't know how to market that at all. Basically, it's aimed at everybody. Every single person out there could benefit by reading it, but which perhaps was a mistake. But I wanted to pass on the knowledge I had, which was my main purpose for writing it. You know, I've never collected any commissions from Amazon or anything else on it. It hasn't even reached the limit yet.
Okay, we're gonna have to change that. There's always things that can be done about that.
I got a few.
Hey, Phil, do you do any speaking on it?
I don't. I suppose the speaking thing is something which I've only just got around to. I lost my job a while back and I had depression for a year. And I don't know if you've ever had depression. I used to think there was no such thing.
Yeah, me too.
There is.
Yeah.
And it's
Me three.
It's crippling. You know, I couldn't even go to the shops without, you know, working up into a sweat about the other people I would meet. So the thought of standing up on a stage and talking to people freaked me out. And now it's 3 years after that now, but it's something which is it's always there in the background. It's the nearest thing I can compare it to is a migraine headache, where if you think about a migraine, it develops. You know, if I think about the depression, it comes back. So basically, no, I've not done any speaking on it. I'm not sure how well that would go, because one person told me the book was very badly written and not focused enough. Other people have told me that it was very useful for their own kids. I mean, it was originally aimed at 16-year-olds in school. Now, I don't know if you have any exams in America and Canada, but exams are very big in the UK. And the basic message in it is that if you approach the exam right, if you read the questions at the end first, then you can actually get 10% more, because your subconscious works on those questions, and then when you come to them, the answers are there.
Yeah.
Without doing anything else.
Yeah, it's a way of accessing your subconscious in test writing.
Yeah. It's just so simple though. That nobody ever told me, and when I told the kids I was teaching this, and they couldn't believe it. They'd say, well, "Why has nobody told us this ever before?" Uh, and then some of the cynical ones tried it, and they told me they tried it in sort of practice exams, and they'd tell me afterwards, "Hey, it worked," which was nice. I've made a small difference. It'd be nice to make a bigger difference, but I don't know.
I think we'll get you there. I know that you have to jump off, and I don't want to keep you, but I know that we'll if you can stay a few more minutes, I'd love it. But we'll definitely work on getting you there. Was there anything that you wanted to add, Jim?
Well, I think the one thing, that's why I brought that up to Phil, is that speaking is a great way to reinforce what you've written about. And and obviously it's a way that you can connect with your audience, as a way that you can sell your book to them. Whether it be part of the package when you come in to speak or afterwards, but it's just a way that you can continue to grow your message. By getting in front of people and sharing your message, whether it's how to take tests more effectively or whatever your message is. I just think that speaking can be really beneficial. And I know a lot of people that were authors first, where I was a speaker first, that have then gone into the speaking world because it is a great avenue and the opportunity to share your message, certainly number one, and number two, certainly gives you an opportunity to promote your book.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say as well, to the people who to the people who criticized your book, their opinion is their opinion, valid to them. A lot of people criticized a lot of things that they don't understand, and that they're afraid of doing themselves.
Yeah.
But I know for sure that if there's value in the content that you wrote, whether it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago, there's always an opportunity for you to reignite and to redevelop that content. You could easily take the book that you published 10 or 15 years ago and update it for today and republish it either digitally or even using CreateSpace, have it be print on demand, so that each purchase at $125 or whatever it was that you had it priced at, each purchase, it only gets printed once they've made the purchase, and you don't have to pay anything. You just get sent a check from Amazon.
That would be nice. Yeah, maybe that's something else I should work on.
We'll definitely be talking about that.
Thank you, Debbie.
So, David or Diane, did you want to bring up anything else, or did you have any specific questions? I don't know how much speaking or where you are exactly in the process of writing or marketing books, or your understanding of it, but we've got Jim here, so let's pick his brain. I've got some more questions for him if you don't.
Yeah, well, first of all, can you...
Hello?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're a little bit quiet.
So, well, I realize, Jim, I assume the main intention was to bring you on to talk about book authoring and whatnot. But I'd like to ask you a question, and without giving away the whole book and your whole story, because I realize time is precious. But if there was one thing that you could share, life lesson, I watched a video, and then I didn't get to finish the video because it was time to jump on the call. But I've got the essence of it, and it's a wonderful video too, and it was, I think, amazing that somebody was there in the audience too. All those shots.
Yeah.
So, but what would you say is the key takeaway from all this for your audiences generally, if you share that?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing is that, I think Jason's story really gave a lot of people hope. So I think the first thing is that it gives hope and inspiration to a lot of people that you can do a lot more than you think you can. And I think that's the main thrust, I believe, behind the story is the belief that you can do this, and and then if you put your mind to it, anything's possible. And then I think the other thing, I break down into 6 keys to how you can make your dreams come true, and I think they're all important. But the one that I think that's really helped me, and I really try to share with people, is understanding your mission in your life. What is your direct purpose? Why were you put on this earth? And I really encourage my audiences and people I talk to, all over the country, is that you understand your mission. And I read Dr. Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, many years ago. In fact, one of my dreams was I wanted to meet Dr. Covey. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to, but I did actually speak to Franklin Covey last year. I met his son, and that was really a neat experience for me. But in his book, he talked about having your own personal mission statement. And when I read this book, I was in my 30s, and I was like, you know what? I'm not sure I know what my purpose is. And I really started to think about it. I started to put down on paper, why was I put on this earth? And now I'm very clear about my mission, and that is to be an outstanding role model, makes a positive difference in the world by helping others make their dreams come true. And what helped me, and what I try to really help people in understanding their own mission, is it really gives you a clear direction when you understand your purpose in life. And when you have direction, it really helps you then set goals, and it helps you persevere when things are going tough for you, because you know what you're all about. It has a direction. And when people have a direction, a target to hit, and they know where they're going, I think that helps you immensely in life.
Yeah.
I'm almost flabbergasted. It's not often that I'm without words. It's so powerful and so impactful in this moment for me to realize that I don't have a personal mission. I mean, the way that you defined yours, Jim, is so clear, and so it allows you to make any of the choices that you can make in life, and you can keep that same mission consistently throughout your life, regardless of what technology changes come about, or what what life situations come about. And I was thinking in my head as you were speaking about my mission, and I was thinking, is it associated with Google Plus Hangouts on Air? Is it, Right. So I think that is a really key suggestion that you've made.
Well, thank you. I think one of the things, because I've worked with mostly high school kids in my career, and when I talk to them about that, of course they look at you like you have two heads. But I think that one thing that I always talk to them, because as adults we're always talking to young people about choices, and adults we all have many choices. But if you don't have a clear-cut direction in your life, a purpose in your life, you know what? Then I think the choices get hazy, and you're unclear about what you're all about, and that's when I believe you tend to make bad choices. Like, in my mission, I want to be an outstanding role model. So I know if I go out and let's say I go out to a bar and I drink too much and I get stopped for DWI, then I know that's a choice that I made. It was a real bad choice, but again, what really was bad for me in that case was, that's not what I'm all about. If I'm sharing that I'm going to be an outstanding role model, and I make that decision and make that choice, then that's not what I'm all about. So I think that's what really has helped me immensely, and something I really encourage people. Debbie, I appreciate your honesty, because I think many of the people I talk to, have never really thought about what their mission or purpose in life is, and I think it's something that will help you immensely as you start to put your thoughts together and put it down on paper, and really have that clear-cut direction, what's most important to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, of course, I've been in business now for 5 years, and I've heard it lots of times and in lots of different ways, and business coaches and instructors and all sorts of, big name people, they talk about your why. What is your why? And a lot of people will define the why in a really personal way that they want to create their why is that they want to be successful in business. Why? So that they can take time off from business and focus on having a family and kids and spending time with the people who are most important to them. And I have thought about my mission in the past, but it was in the context of what does my business do? What does my business serve? And I've never really been comfortable with the idea of creating a mission that is, I'm in business to create a personal life. Mm-hmm. I think I'm in business, my mission in business and my mission in life, I mean, I'm on this planet to help other people see what they can achieve, help other people understand that the gifts that they have, that they don't even recognize, that they were born with those gifts. And it's their job in life, it's all of our jobs in life to understand what are the gifts that you were born with and to take advantage of them and to share them as much as you can. But most of us don't even recognize it because we haven't really exercised or grown or worked out those gifted muscles. We haven't established them, and a lot of us don't even know that they exist. We keep on waiting for something to come to us rather than through us.
Very well said, Debbie. Very well said.
Thank you. Well, we have about 10 minutes left. I think for me, where I am right now, the biggest impact that I can make is in speaking and in developing more speaking engagements. Would you have any tips, Jim, for us and for people who are watching about how they might go about starting their speaking career, their speaking professional life?
Yes, I'll give you a few. I think the first thing is certainly not earth-shattering with this idea, but you got to find out what you want to speak about. As simple as that sounds, you can't go out and say to people, geez, I want to come in and speak, and they say, what are you going to speak on? And you don't have any clue. I think that would be tough. So I think the first thing you got to do is decide, what you want to speak on. What is your message? How are you trying to add value to people? So I think that those are some things you think about as you develop your message. Once you're very clear on what you're going to speak about, then it's developing a speech. Whether it's a keynote or if you want to get into workshops. I do both. I have a keynote and I do a leadership workshop, and I do a keynote on my 6 essential keys. But I think that's, you got to be clear of what you're trying to do with your speaking. Once you're clear about that, then, it's going to the market. And I think the thing that's most challenging for us that are, trying to make a living is that in getting into speaking, a lot of times you're going to have to give a number of either very low fee or no fee speeches, and I think that's a challenge for people. But as I said, I've been a part of the National Speakers Association for 6 years. I tell you, some of the most prominent speakers have given hundreds of free speeches before they actually got paid for a speech. Yeah. And I know that's something that none of us wants to hear. But what you have to do is you got to hone your craft. You got to become really good at it. And then I think the other thing that I didn't know when I started speaking, but I'm very clear about it right now, is that you got to get some momentum when you speak in front of audiences. You do that by the following. Number one, as many times as you can, you need to get videoed. And that's a great teaching tool for you, but it's also a way that you can send it out on YouTube or whatever, so that people see you speaking. I think that's really important. And you should develop some type of little video, whether it be part of a speech. It's called a demo video in speaking. And I have one on my website, coachjimjohnson.com, if you guys want to take a look at that. where you're giving them a little bit of an advertisement. What are you speaking about? Are you a good speaker? Those are things that they're certainly going to be looking for. And then the other thing is making sure that after you speak, that you're going to get some support. Certainly, if you did a bad job, you're not. But if you do a good job, the person that brought you in, that client, if you can get a testimonial, and the most powerful testimonial, and I did not know this when I first started, is a video testimonial. If you can, have a little video camcorder with you and get a few sentences from people from the audience, from the person, the client that brings you in. Certainly having written testimonials as well is powerful, and you can put both video and written on your website. The other thing I neglected to say, because I almost made an assumption, if you're going to be a speaker, you need to have a website, and on that website you got to have a demo video. You got to have different things. For me, like none of this I had early, but I have a newsletter now. I do a blog. So those are things that people can access, and when they go to your website, if you have free items, whether they have PDFs about things you've written that can help people, or little videos on things that little tips on maybe 7 ways to become a better speaker, and since we're talking about speaking, or whatever it happens to be, is that more information that you can give away on your website. If there's, whether it's a newsletter or some other method, you got to develop a list, and that list will then help you in the marketing when you go out. Like for example, like going back to our book issue, if you come out with a book, whether it be an ebook, a regular book, or whatever, is that you have a list and say, I'm coming out with a book in a month or 3 months or whatever it is, and you try to build up a launch there. And the way to do that is to get a list. And certainly the list also can help you if you stay in touch with your list, whether it's newsletters or personal emails or contacts, is those are people that you can use as references. And the more power you have in powerful testimonials is going to help you immensely to continue to grow your business as a speaker. So I think you're going to have to get out there. You certainly need to practice your keynote. I know I've done my keynote over 100 times, and yet every time I go to the venue, whether it's out of town, I always practice the day before or the morning if it's an evening, because you got to come out looking like what you're doing, and that you practice. And there's more to that, but I think if you really synthesize it down to steps, number one, you have to have a message. 2 is you got to become very good as a speaker in delivering your message, and then thirdly, the ability to continue to build momentum by getting testimonials, getting a list, getting people that will support you, that will help you in continuing to grow your speaking business.
Great tips. Great tips. I really appreciate that. I think what you said about speaking, doing a lot of speeches, doing a lot of presentations for free before you start getting paid. I think that there's a lot of truth in that. And I know from my own experience, I've got 20 years experience working with advertising agencies, and early in my career, I went through a bout of real insecurity. Even in meetings with my bosses and clients, I would find myself trying to speak to clients, but my hands would be shaking in the meeting, and my voice would be shaking because I was just trying to present something across the table. And one of the things that came about was one of my coworkers suggested to me joining Toastmasters, which gives you a safe environment to practice public speaking and to make lots of mistakes, and with a group of people that are empathetic and able to help you understand that at least what I learned to understand was that the feeling in my body of stage fright, the physiological feelings in my body of stage fright are almost exactly the same as the physiological feelings of excitement, knowing that people are about to tell me, oh my God, Debbie, that was so frickin' incredible. I'm so glad I heard you speak today. And I had to just change my mind and go, okay, these feelings that I'm feeling are not fear. I'm well practiced. I know exactly what I have to say. I know exactly what I want to get across. I know my funny stories. I know the points and tips that they need. I just need to focus on serving them and let go of that fear and just go, you know what, they're going to be so happy even if my voice is shaking. And still, what I'll say to people usually at the beginning of my speech is, if you see my hands or my voice shake, it's because I'm excited. I'm excited to be here today talking to you. And I have recognized that the feelings they're virtually exactly the same. You will never die from stage fright. And the only thing that will happen is you will recognize, I mean, I still get nervous. I do get nervous before every speech. I just, 3 months ago at the end of March, I flew to Las Vegas and I gave my first ever international presentation to the Cater Source and Event Solutions Conference and Trade Show, which I actually just last night put the 1-hour video up on my YouTube and the slides on my SlideShare so that everyone can see me talking about Google Plus Hangouts on Air for event professionals and for meeting planners. And it's scary, you know. Even that presentation, I wasn't paid to speak. They paid for my travel expenses, which was more than enough for me to say, yes, I'll go and speak. And I did. I got, you know, I had some clients, I had some people who really responded well to my presentation and came up to me afterwards and said, you know, everything you were talking about gave us lots of really great information and great ideas, and we want to hire you or buy your course. We want more. And that was exactly what my intent was. I did find it difficult, though. I did ask people, you know, while you're here talking to me at the back of the room after my presentation, hey, can I just get you on video really quick, giving me a testimonial of this, because you're excited right now. Let's capture it right now. And they said, oh, well, let us go home and we'll send you a video. Now, they did end up becoming clients, which is great, so I can still get a testimonial at some point. But I never did get the video testimonial of my speaking presentation, so I'll just have to keep on trying, I think. But I would agree that you really do. You want to be confident as a speaker, and even something like joining Toastmasters, even giving presentations and speeches. If you can, every time you can get up in front of a crowd and speak. Doesn't matter if you don't know what you're talking about, just get comfortable speaking in front of a crowd and saying, hey, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk for 10 minutes. You know, and that starts to remove the physiological, the irrational fear in your mind, the insecurities that you're going to fail, all of those questions. It sort of, it allows you to separate, and because public speaking, you know, is the biggest fear for many people, it allows you to separate it into two almost more manageable bits. And one is really getting to know your content, and that happens over a period of time. And the other one is really becoming comfortable speaking in front of people about anything, and especially about your expert content. And that also happens over time. And when organizations, I guess, are looking for keynote speakers and for paid speakers, which I've done a couple of paid speaking presentations, but not nearly as many as I've done free, they're looking for someone who's a comfortable speaker. They're looking for someone who really wants to get their message out there. Yes, I will speak in front of any size crowd, anywhere in the world, on any platform. And even if I'm not prepared, I will take the stage. And in fact, what I have done on numerous occasions is I have attended presentations and speeches of many other people. I like to network with the people who I want to become more like. And I saw Harry Rosen speak, you know, about, I guess it was about 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, just before my first ever paid keynote. And he gave such a great presentation, and so many people came out to see him in Toronto. And there was probably about 350 people in the room at one of the university business development places. And what I did was I waited for the room to empty after speaking to Harry and you know, the crowd at the back of the room, that sort of thing. After the room emptied, I stood up on stage for a couple of minutes, and I just looked out, and I just took in as much of that. I'm going to take this stage. Took in as much of that making that decision for myself. This is my future. If I don't stand up on stage today, I probably never will. And so I had to stand up on stage. And I did that last year as well at the Creative Live Studios with Mike McElwain. He came in during a break. I was standing up on stage, and he's looking at me. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I am setting my intention. I'm going to be here recording on stage once my book is published in a year on my birthday. Now, I've only got about 2 months to make that happen. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but eventually it will happen. So that's my suggestion, but I know that we're all working towards it, towards more.
Yeah, it's a great thought to think, you know, Toastmasters is a great way. I personally have gone to some Toastmasters because of my nature of my job. I was never able to be consistent, but I think anything, you know, the more you're out in front of people. I'll give you a little formula that I kind of follow that I've learned from different people is the 3 L's. Is number 1, show that you love your audience and love what you're talking about. So that's number 1 L. Number 2, is your audience learning something from you? You know, so that L is learn. And the third one, are you making them laugh? You know, I think if you can make them laugh as well as teach them something, I think those are 3 powerful things that you can remember when you're putting together a talk.
Awesome. That's great information.
Yeah.
Any final comments or questions? Anything from our panel guests? We're right about an hour, so we're just about ready to close out the show. Anybody else want to jump in?
It's been very useful, very interesting. Thanks. Thanks to Jim. Thanks to you, Debbie. Thanks to the other people, Diane and David, who I didn't actually talk with very much, but nice to meet people.
Yes, now you can connect with them and talk more.
Yes. Yep, great to chat with everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us, Diane. I really appreciate it. And I can't remember if we've met before or not. Did we meet at Lindsay Wilson's conference? Do I know you in person?
No. Well,
okay. I spent a lot of time in Long Beach.
Yeah.
Well, the next time I'm in Long Beach,
I know,
I'm
but we've never actually met.
Well,
yes,
that's going to change.
Please do. I'll take you to my favorite restaurant. Yes. Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh,
yes.
Okay. Wasn't sure.
You're
I turned off my mic just in case my. Oh, okay. I turned off my mic just in case my cat decided he had something to say. I wasn't sure if I turned it back on or not. But no, I think we met online, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think so.
So I can't wait to meet you in real life. Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Can't wait for you to come out. We can. Yeah. I can't wait to take you to my favorite place.
Perfect. Well, we'll be in touch a lot more now that you've been on my show. Now you can't get rid of me.
Hey, I see you on my Facebook feed. I love all the stuff that you post.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being with me and in that community.
Yeah.
David, thank you so much for joining us today. Oh, I think you're muted. Yeah, you're still muted.
Thanks, everybody.
There he is.
And Debbie and everybody else, nice to meet you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Great.
It was wonderful. Yeah, this was wonderful.
Awesome.
I'm so excited.
Good. Well, I
Yeah.
hope that you will all come back. Even Jim, you're welcome to join us for future hangouts. It's
Sure.
always educational and beneficial. And you know, we have had some of our feature authors, people like Dory Clark from Forbes and Harvard Business Review has joined us numerous times. And when she joined us, almost every time she ends up writing, either co-authoring an article in Forbes or Harvard Business Review, or writing an article about the other authors that she's met. So I would love it if you would come back on the show in the future.
Yeah, I'd love to. It was a wonderful experience, and if it can help anybody, Diane, I will say that actually my son goes to Pepperdine Law School in California, so I was just out in Los Angeles. So if I get out there again, I'll see if I can look you up. And Debbie, it was wonderful to be part of your show today, and certainly Phil and David, it was great to connect with you. And if I can help anybody in the future, please feel free to reach out to me.
Great. Well, I'm just going to take a really quick look at the Q&A chat, which I totally forgot about during our conversation. And Frank Schwartz was in here asking questions. Frank does have a couple of questions that I'm going to pose to you, Jim, if you have 2 minutes.
Sure.
Okay, so Frank's question, he says, is there a movie deal in the works?
The movie right now is unfortunately kind of been quiet. There was a movie deal originally, and it's kind of stopped as of right now. I'm certainly hoping someday that it'll be on the big screen. I think it will certainly inspire many, many people.
Awesome. And he also asks, will you be in Phoenix this year?
Will I be in Phoenix? As of right now, I do not have anything scheduled in Phoenix, but I'm always open to go there. I've been there before. Unfortunately, the time I went to Phoenix, it was in the summer. It was dead warm. But I've been to Scottsdale in the fall, and it was absolutely gorgeous. So.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for all of the effort and the time. And you who are in the viewing audience, I don't know where you're joining us from, but this is always a really valuable conversation. SparkleSOS Book Authors and Publishers is really about helping each other as book authors. The world is changing so quickly, and the opportunities that are coming up, many of us aren't necessarily aware of what we can do in the universe now. So I like to host these shows and to bring in people who have great experiences and lots to teach us, and you know, people who have just come further than we have. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you especially Jim for your time and for your efforts, your you know, ongoing efforts to get onto the show today. Apologies to anyone in the audience who was you know, waiting for our video to start. We persevered, and Jim came through.
Yeah, thank you. I kept with it. Wasn't so sure, but thank God we were able to do it. So.
And the good news is it should never be so difficult again.
Yes, yes. That is the nice part about technology. Once you get through some of the obstacles, it usually gets easier.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. They get much easier after that. So thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm just going to end the broadcast now, but those of you on the panel, you don't have to leave the show right away. Thank you for watching. We do have another episode of SparkleSOS Book Authors and Publishers coming up. On July 28th, we are welcoming Sally Hogshead, who is the inventor, the discoverer of How to Fascinate, and her book is called How the World Sees You. And if you join SparkleSOS Book Authors and Publishers at thesparkleagency.com/SparkleSOS opt-in, I'll be sending you the invite as well. Sally has given me some access to her her personality advantage assessment online, which you can take. And if you join SparkleSOS Book Authors and Publishers, I'll give you access to take that personality Advantage assessment online, and it's really fascinating because it tells you all sorts of interesting things. So you can join us next week if you want, and that would be, I believe, at 1 p.m. Eastern again. Couple of chat messages. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we will